Shir 19 on the Haggadah Shel Pesach. We're now starting the paragraph of Vanitz'ak, which represents the third stage in the creation of Klal Yisrael. At this fundamental moment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu demonstrated to Klal Yisrael that He listens to their cries. This reveals a unique characteristic of our nation, distinguish us from all others, our essential connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Tefillah. The connection is reflected in Parashat V'eschanan, Perek Daled, Pasuk Zayin. It says in the pasuk, "Ki mi goy gadol asher loi elehim kroivim elov, Hashem Elokeinu b'kol kareinu elov." For what great nation is there that God so near to it as Hashem our God is in all that we call upon Him for. The greatness of Klal Yisrael stems from this intimate connection to Hashem. We have the unique ability to daven and receive His responses to our requests. Chazal note that strictly from the perspective of their own actions, the people were not actually worthy of having their tefillahs accepted. Hashem was effectively weighing the Avodah Zarah of the Mitzrim and the Avodah Zarah of Klal Yisrael. Nevertheless, they were privileged to experience Hashem's salvation due to the bris avos, as a bris established with Avram Avinu is eternal and can never be nullified. The Mitzrim employed three specific methods to oppose this bris of redemption from happening, to attempt to. They sought to limit their marital relations, to prevent birth of children. They cast the children who were born into the river, the male children at least. They applied pressure by stripping the people of minimal conditions required to raise children. The Ramchal explains that although the bris guarantees that Klal Yisrael will never be destroyed, Hashem governs the world through reward and punishment, and the consequences of our actions. Consequently, Hashem sometimes awaits for a specific merit or tefillah to arouse the bris and activate His midas chesed. Thus, while salvation is ultimately granted through the bris rather than our own actions, the prayer serves as a necessary catalyst. The Haggadah states, "Vanitz'ak el Hashem Elokei Avosenu," and we cried out to Hashem, the God of our fathers. It deliberately avoids saying our God, referring instead to the God of our avos, to emphasize that our merit for the Geula rested upon the special bris made with Avram Avinu. As recorded in Shemois, Perek Beis Pasuk Chaf Gimel, "Vayihi bayomim harab mahem." And it wasn't those many days. Klal Yisrael was already in a state of prolonged suffering when the Melech Mitzrayim died, which Rashi understands to mean was afflicted with tzaras, because we obviously know he wasn't actually dead. The Medrash records that he began to slaughter 150 children every morning and another 150 children every evening so he could bathe in their blood to heal himself. Though the people wished to protest this atrocity, a direct rebellion against the king was impossible. Instead, they disguised their protests as a cry of exhaustion from their labor, which is the meaning of Vayanchu min ha'avodah, and they sighed from their labor. The Achronim explain this according to the explanation of Rashi. And the Seforno explains that even without proper tshuva, the sheer intensity of their servitude and pain aroused the bris of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to take us out of Mitzrayim, even though we were not deserving of it based on our own merit. The depth of the suffering acted as a trigger. We then continue to the next paragraph, where we state that Hashem heard our voices, as the Haggadah says, "Vayishma Elokim es na'akosam." Hashem heard their groaning. And Vayiskor Elokim es bariso, and Hashem remembered His bris. This perfectly reflects the principle we discussed in the name of the Ramchal, that it was specifically the combination of tefillah joined with bris avos that caused Hashem to remember us. The Haggadah header of Vayishma Hashem es Kailenu uses specifically the Shem Havaya to allude to the fact that Hashem's name switched from Elokim, the attribute of judgment, to Midas Adin, to Midas Harachim, the attribute of mercy, in response to our tefillos and a special covenant of the avos. The hidden affliction. The term on Yenu, our affliction, specifically refers to the precious derech eretz that we discussed earlier as a introduction, the forced separation of men from their wives. The Rishonim refer to various explanations of how the Mitzvah accomplishes. The Ravan suggests that the decree to kill the children made men lose their desire to be with their wives. The Rekeach and the Orchos Chaim argue that the Egyptians subjected the Jews to constant unrelenting work so they couldn't be with their wives. The Ibn Ezra and the Ritva add that their bodies were so physically shattered by the labor that they were no longer able to produce children. Hashem saw and knew of this hidden affliction, witnessing the separation of man and wife that no one else could see. At this point, the Baal HaGadah is explaining that this is Horus, an awakening of the Bris Avos. The Bris is a promise of national continuity, and the Egyptians attempted 3 methods to destroy this continuity. As we've been discussing, Zuprishas Dercheres. The first was preventing the marital intimacy. The second, as we move on, the Es Amalenu. This refers to our toil, which means our children, because a person toils to raise and educate them. In Torah and Deracheres, the Shabudei Eleket and the Ritva explain that by throwing the Banim into the river, the Mitzrim were destroying our Amelis. The Magistrate further notes that while they planned to let the girls live, the ultimate goal was to force them to assimilate and marry Mitzrim, thereby ending the continuity of Klal Yisrael. Ve'ez lachatzenu, this refers to our oppression, or the intense pressure regarding work quotas for bricks. This also encompassed the pressure of living quarters and lack of basic conditions necessary to raise children, all part of the same attempt to destroy our national survival. In summary, this stage in the creation of Klal Yisrael serves as a powerful expression of the Bris. It demonstrates that Hashem views Klal Yisrael as a central focus of creation and highlights how vital tefillah is to the very essence of every Yid. Have a good night. Thank you for listening.